Welcome to being at home with George during COVID. And I'm really excited about being here with you today. There's a lot to cover, and we're at a very pivotal time in our history. And as always, I'd like to create the space for or the possibility of being able to embrace the pain and generating the hope. In this case, the pain or the hurt or the frustration or whatever, however we phrase it, has to do with dealing with the devastating effects of the COVID or coronavirus, also the economic uncertainty that many people are experiencing, and the threat of violence, which has been all too obvious as we look at the news and we look at the social media. There's a lot of that there, and so that's what is part of the embracing the hurt. And in terms of generating hope, I was reflecting on the fact that it's Martin Luther King's birthday or weekend. Like it started yesterday, but the holiday is Monday, and that he talked about having a dream and that we would be seen by the content of our character, not by the color of our skin or our political or religious affiliations. And that it was really important that when we had disagreements, we were able to demonstrate, but they were nonviolent protests or demonstrations as an act of free speech, not anything that resorts to violence and whatnot. When we talk about the content of our character, we're talking about not violating our principles, our values, the Constitution, which is about all men are created equal and that we have the right for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And so, in that context, we need to really understand, and I've talked about this in the past, of not letting ideology get us away from our humanity and the fact that we all are created equal and that we can agree or disagree, but we can do it in a way where we honor the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness of everyone. So integrity is really important, especially having integrity with our word. What we say and what we do are in alignment. And so you might think of integrity as a bridge. And if that bridge is weak, then it's going to be really challenging for us to walk across it with any kind of confidence, with any kind of sense of safety. So our words matter. What we say matter. So when I think of integrity, I think of somebody whose words, actions, and values are in alignment. So if I say that I want to bring people together, then my words have to be words that create harmony, and then my action has to be harmonious actions about understanding that I have to get beyond this illusion of separateness, that I and the other are one. So when I can be trusted and when my word matters, when I'm impeccable with my word, it's going to have a certain amount of power, and it's going to create what they call a speed of trust, because people know, okay, what he says and what he does are in alignment, and it's based on values, it's based on principles, and the things about principles, especially when our values are principles, that they're universal, they're timeless, and they're self-evident. So if we talk about it's better together, or can I bring affinity, or can I bring love, can I judge people by the content of their character, then that means it doesn't matter if I like the person, if I don't like the person, whether they're a part of my tribe or not. They need to be honored by the content of their character. It's not like, okay, if you're on my team, I'll ignore the content of your character. And if you're not on my team, you have it, but I'll deny it. That's a problem. So we have to get beyond likes and dislikes. It's like either somebody has integrity or they don't. Either somebody has character and has values that they're not willing to violate, even if it means they may lose their job or they might be threatened. We need that kind of profiles and courage where we're able to step up and say, this is what I'm going to do. And if you want to vote for me, fine. If you don't, then maybe I shouldn't be representing you. Or if it's a family member or even in my tribe, if they kick me out because I'm being integrous with what I see, I'm not willing to violate my principle, or not violating being of help to people, or seeing someone as a human being with a divine spark, denying our conscience just in the name of safety, or not wanting to get bullied, or not wanting to get cast out of Eden, you might say. So we need to be able to say, okay, if you throw me out, maybe I shouldn't be there, but I can't violate my principles. I can compromise, but I'm talking about principles, not ideology. I'm talking about the principle of love, compassion, inclusion. This idea of everybody has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that we are all created equal, even though we may not see people as our equals. It doesn't matter. They still are human beings, and we have to treat them as such. We have to be able to begin from a basis of truth, of this is what's happening, and then, in spite of how inconvenient it is, we have to acknowledge the fact that this is what happened, and we can't allow people to spin or to have an alternative truth, and then people buy into that and they're willing to violate their principles just for the pursuit of power or domination or privilege. And so we have to get to a place where we can go back to content of our character and not violating the principles of the Constitution. And we need to understand that there's an election, for instance, and then the winner of the election gets to be in office, and there can't be this idea that we can change reality and that we're willing to kill for it, and people have been killed for it. We have to stop that, and we have to stop that individually and collectively, and we need to start thinking about working towards a common good and working towards how can we do this. Okay, this is where we are. Can we come together? And people have to, if we're going to heal, people have to be held accountable for what they're doing, and that's another part of having character, having integrity, is being able to take responsibility for our actions or inactions instead of just blaming someone else, and then we never get down to the solution because we haven't had a clear understanding of what the problem is and how to solve it. Has to do with accepting things. Okay, this is the way things are, and when we deny the fact that there's a virus that can kill people and we don't wear masks, there's a consequence to that. So even though people may feel they have the freedom not to wear a mask, in the context of the greater good, we have to understand that it's affecting people for no fault of their own. So we can exercise our freedom, but it can't be at the cost of harming someone else or doing damage. And so we need to understand that. So a little thing like wearing a mask, but also this idea of people being able to express their conscience and not be afraid of somebody confronting them because they made a free choice. That, in other words, because of this, we're in this cult-like personality environment where people can't be free. That's, if one person is not free, none of us are free. We can't operate like that. So we have to go back to our basic principles of people having free speech, because that is free speech to say, hey, I don't agree with you, and I shouldn't have to pay a price of my life or be threatened. So that's a little thing, but moment to moment during the day, we have these opportunities to exercise this idea of looking at the greatest good. So it's also taking care of ourselves, but also understanding what impact we're having on others. So if I was a smoker and if I'm out smoking, I need to be smoking in a place where if I'm out by myself in the field and I'm smoking or whatever, then I don't have to worry about somebody else getting secondhand smoke and getting cancer because I'm exercising my freedom in a way like that. And of course, that goes to mask as well. I may not feel comfortable wearing a mask, but if I'm going to be around others, I have to be willing to do that. I might not like the person who gets elected because I voted for the other person, but I have to accept the results and be willing to support that person for the greater good. And that person has to represent not just their affiliate party, but all of us. And so unless we get back to this idea of understanding a house divided against itself is going to fall or fail, we need to get beyond our religious and political affiliations and do what's right and do what is for the greatest good. And that is, this is how things work, so let's work it that way. And so this generation of hope has to be based on the truth, based on what is, and then making choices that are consistent with who we say we are and what we say we want to do. And so this idea of goodwill, affinity, love, or getting beyond this illusion of separateness and realize that I and the other are one, that we're doing it for the greatest good. And we have to stop letting our ideology or fear of retaliation if we vote our conscience. We have to get beyond that, and we have to create a space where people feel safe and feel free to be who they are in the context of the greater good.